Triangleface.
Hello and welcome to the Bermuda Triangleface. I'm Tim.
And I'm Sam.
And today we're going to start off talking about comics. Primarily, Sam, what were some of your favourite comics and what ones would you like to see turned into films that haven't been made into films yet?
I'm very much more Marvel than DC. It's always been my kind of art.
Yeah.
But I also quite like a few kind of individual standalone comics. I think some of the best ones that I've read, you've lent me. Two that stand out in particular would be The Filth.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's very good.
Which is very long.
I don't know if I'd want to see The Filth in
No.
a film.
No.
Because it's a bit weird.
You
in
can
places.
go by the name with The Filth. It includes some things that I'm not sure I should describe for public audience, but then the book is available for purchase. It's nasty, but it's a great book. The other is a series, The Boys.
I was going to mention The Boys myself, actually. The Boys is very good.
And I thought you might, which is why I'm not going to describe it any further. So I'll leave that to you. At the moment, however, as I said, I've always been more Marvel than DC. I'm presently reading 1602 by Neil Gaiman. You can see it there, it's shiny. This one I almost got signed and then left it at home by accident. But it's basically... I've read this a few times now. I'm halfway through it for the third or fourth time, I think. Neil Gaiman's one of my favourite authors already. Loved Neverwhere, which is also made into a comic but was originally a book. Stardust, American Gods. He's a great author. But this brings the Marvel Universe to the year 1602. So every Marvel character has a similar relationship and it's a similar kind of environment. But say, for example, Magneto and a lot of his kind of the mutants in his kind of group are the Inquisition, like the Spanish Inquisition. It's all based in, or most of the story is based around Queen Elizabeth and London and that kind of thing. It's really interesting how it's taken out of context and then put into a different context.
They've got like the mutants and stuff are called like the witch breed, aren't they? And they're kind of burned as witches as opposed to sort of being treated like mutants. So it's similar reaction to mutants, but just in that time.
Yes.
And like Nick Fury is head of the Queen's Shield, so he's like a knight, isn't he, as opposed to like a secret agent. But all the stuff sort of translates across pretty nicely. So and it's good because it combines loads of different Marvel characters in a standalone book that you can just read. I mean, I think there's a follow-up to it, isn't there? There's another one afterwards.
It didn't go so well.
But it is like a standalone. What you're saying about like The Filth being a good standalone, it's like when I first started reading comics, I'd read a lot of series, which were dark for a long time. Then it's nice to get a comic that's just one book that you can read and then it's finished. And
you get a closure at the end.
Yeah.
You don't get to the end of like the sixth volume in a long series and then be like, oh god, there's another cliffhanger.
I mean, there is a place for that. There are ones that I like that, which are good. I was going to mention a few myself, but no, I do like having like a standalone book like that. So what do you reckon 1602 as a film?
1602 as a film, now that the Marvel franchise is doing so well, would only work if X-Men and Spider-Man...
Well, Spider-Man doesn't play a big role in it, so they could probably get away with that, because that's just never going to happen, I don't think, because of the different movie rights people have got.
It makes me sick.
Or at least for a long time.
It makes me
but,
mad.
I mean, you've got... Am I right in thinking that X-Men and Avengers are also different in the film universe?
Yes.
Because I've noticed in like Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Coulson mentions that there are no recorded instances of psychics and stuff.
Yeah.
So okay, so you're just ignoring Xavier.
That
it doesn't. They don't exist in the same universe as the X-Men, do they?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like a lot of other stuff would cross over.
Yes.
So it's kind of it's difficult as a fan where in the comics everything crosses over. If there's a big event in the X-Men universe, it'll impact the others. Things like House of M.
Yeah.
If you don't know about House of M, it's where Magneto's daughter Scarlet Witch, her powers kind of are to alter reality, but on a small scale. She kind of loses control of her powers and alters reality of the whole world to make mutants the dominant species over humans, and then there's like that story's told from every character's perspective within Marvel. So then you get Spider-Man House of M, Iron Man House of M, you know, and so on, and you just can see all those different things. So when there's a big event like that, it affects everyone in Marvel. But then in the movies, they haven't been able to cross that sort of style over because all the different studios have different rights to different things.
And I think that's the perfect example of actually what I would love to see as a movie is the Civil War story arc.
Yes.
Which actually would lead really perfectly on from where the movies stand at the moment after Cap 2's just come out. The way that, like, S.H.I.E.L.D. has... no spoilers. But the way that the story is at the moment...
Yes,
it's the perfect time to potentially move on to the Civil War arc where...
But do they have enough characters within that particular universe to be able to do it?
No.
I don't think they do, really.
No. Especially seeing as Spider-Man such a pivotal character.
Yeah,
they can't use.
Yeah, they can't use him. I don't think they've got enough superheroes or villains within that particular universe that they've made there.
No.
Because they're essentially ignoring X-Men and Spider-Man and other things, so that does make it difficult. So
that's me. What would you like to say?
There's two really. One I was going to say movie, one I was going to say TV series.
Yeah.
Movie, you mentioned The Boys. The Boys, I think, would work well as a movie, or at least a trilogy of movies. And obviously, you can cast Simon Pegg as Huey. Because if you're not familiar with The Boys, the first reason I picked up the first copy of The Boys is on the front cover, there's a character that's drawn to look like Simon Pegg. And I think they contacted Simon Pegg and asked him if they could use his likeness. And he said, yeah.
Well, it said, on the back of the book, it actually says that he saw himself on the cover, didn't it?
Possibly then, I might have got that wrong, because I know that he did the forward for it.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, yeah.
But I think what I heard or read, maybe this is wrong then, is that they're trying to come up with a character that was kind of threatening, but also not too threatening. And they're trying to describe how he wanted this character to look. So basically, I wanted to look like Simon Pegg. And then I think they just drew him to look like Simon Pegg. And they're like, yeah, that just looks like Simon Pegg. I don't know.
Just drew Simon
maybe
Pegg.
They didn't actually ask him for permission, then they just did it. But then he saw it and said, that's cool. So it'd be weird to like be starring in something where you'd never actually read a script or done anything. You're just like, oh, that's me. To then be in it as an actor. So the world of The Boys is basically where superheroes are kind of... they're not the traditional superheroes you get from comics. They don't really spend a lot of time fighting crime. It's more endorsements and TV appearances and things. But because they have a lot of money and they have superpowers, they're also a bit out of control. Most of them are not particularly nice people. And then there's a CIA group called The Boys that basically keep them in check and keep an eye on them. Maybe it's whether through blackmail or threats, or sometimes they actually have to fight them and take them out and take them down if they step out of line. Because there's not really any supervillains, because being a superhero is profitable. So it's like you can have it as a career. If you've got powers, you go dress up in a silly costume and get lots of TV appearances. And as long as you're like smiling and shaking hands on camera, they can kind of do whatever they want off camera and are generally not doing nice things. It's like...
So they're basically the superheroes have lost control and do some kind of horrendous stuff. This is not... If this was a movie, it would be an 18.
Yes, definitely. It's really...
Damn sure.
Really violent. Very violent, and also a lot of swearing and stuff.
Yes. In the first book, the first and last sentences in the book both include the C word.
Yes.
But the point of it is...
I think that kind of sets the tone of the book when you first open it. It's like, oh, okay, it's going to be like that. So
wow, alright, fine.
Initial shock value.
Yeah, it prepares you, doesn't it, for the rest of the rather nasty things that happen in this book. It's a series, isn't it, as well? Which is why it will probably move on to more than one...
Yeah, I would think maybe a series of books... a series of films.
Yeah.
There are some filler story arcs which you wouldn't need to include in the films, where it kind of goes off on a tangent, because their main feud is with a group called the Seven, who are like the main superhero team, and there are other superhero teams, but they're just not as influential as the Seven. So they could easily do a series of 3 films and just ignore the other superhero teams and just get on with that story, because that's the main storyline, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
And they could do that.
It's kind of, for my... Think of it this way, if the Avengers, outside of fighting against the huge like stories that you've seen, if they turned out that in their personal lives they were real freaky, and they were into drugs and weird kinky sex, well, you would need a bunch of horrendous people to fix that.
Yeah, because like the superheroes themselves. I think the thing as well, there's loads of political stuff in there as well. Because one of the big storylines in it is that they want to avoid getting a superhero-friendly president in the White House.
Yeah.
And they're worried that if the president gets in the White House that likes superheroes, they won't kind of keep them in check as much.
No.
I was thinking at the moment, at the beginning of the book, the government's very concerned that superheroes are kind of very dangerous. They're like, these people can like fly and shoot lasers out of their eyes. That's a problem.
But it's quite interesting to see a group of normal people that somehow have the ability to fight superheroes.
Yeah.
And it works really well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. I think that'd be a great movie. And what did you say was going to be a TV series?
The one I thought mainly a TV series rather than a movie is because of how much there is to tell. It's such a long story. And that would be Invincible. Invincible is one of my favourite comics. It's done by Robert Kirkman, who's the same guy that did Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And I've been reading through the Walking Dead comics and watching the ABC TV series of Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And that works really well as a TV show and as a comic. So I think this same writing style, same sort of character development he's got in Invincible would translate really well into a TV series. I think then you wouldn't have to kind of rush it as much as you would in a film to get the story out. You could build it very, very slowly. And
so you get the right characters,
yeah.
and you get to build the characters without there having to be the first movie in a series just being learn about the character now, please.
Yeah, you can develop. I mean, you could do a series or two and then end it with a film.
Yeah,
which is always, I really like it when TV shows do that.
A bit like Firefly.
Like seasons and then a movie at the end. I think it's a really, you know, if you're a fan of a series and then it ends with a movie, that's great. I think that's a really like fun thing to have. But yeah, that's similar to The Boys in Ways because it's taken a very traditional superhero supervillains setting, and then it kind of gets very serious very quickly. It starts off thinking, okay, they've got superpowers, but they have secret identities and all the same sort of stuff that goes on in superhero comics, and then all of a sudden it gets really serious and really violent. And there's these like big threats because in the main character Invincible is basically like Superman with fierce powers. He's invulnerable, super strong, and can fly. And he is way more powerful than like any of the other superheroes. He's like the most powerful superhero, pretty much. And his dad's the same. His dad's like really powerful. And he's got the same sort of powers.
Okay.
But there, he's so powerful that he has to deal with like the really big threats. So something has to be pretty bad for him to get involved.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, whenever things happen in the comic, it's always on like a really, really big scale. It's like, oh, there's a bank robbery downtown. It's more like, oh, the Earth's going to get destroyed by a meteor or something. They're much like more drastic events, mostly. So.
Cool.
Yes.
So we've pitched that idea to any studios that happen to watch this video. Now, next up would be the question. We were pitching this idea as a question for the last Bermuda Triangleface that I was involved with, and I'm going to ask it this time. So, Tim, what do you think would happen if the internet broke?
If the internet broke, so we are saying that there is internet now, and then it's breaking.
Oh yeah, like
is it
tomorrow the internet stops working?
Is it breaking? Are we going to assume that it's not possible to fix it?
Yes.
So the question the answer would just be we would fix it. Well, if the internet was broken for good, think about all of the unemployment. I mean, I work in internet.
Yeah,
I work in internet. The amount of different companies that are upstream providers or wholesale providers or retail providers, all of that would go. Any businesses that use internet for various types of things like PDQ machines, voice over IP, things like that, anything that uses data to carry, you know, any sort of, whether it be web traffic or voice traffic or whatever, it would all be down. So the amount of industrial impact would be immense. It would be absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the largest employers, Google, for example, is basically a city. So that would leave thousands of people completely unemployed.
The unemployment would be horrendous. But then, would there be other jobs that would be created because there was no internet to do certain things?
Runners.
You could get runners to do different things. Different couriers. I mean, we wouldn't be reliant as much on social media, or we wouldn't have email or anything like that anymore.
No.
I presume we would still have mobile technology, so people would like send text messages as opposed to email.
I don't know. The internet's broken.
I don't know whether that necessarily goes over.
I think things
internet,
like
or it's data traffic on mobiles and stuff would be off, I guess. So you would still have phone signals to make mobile phone calls.
Yes.
So you'd have mobile phones. So I think mobile phones would be a lifeline that people would use a lot. So everyone would want to have a reliable mobile phone.
But we'd probably be going back to the like Nokia 3210
Yeah,
style
just
phone.
basic phone that just makes phone calls and
Yeah.
potentially sends texts. I
But
don't know
then
whether that's the
the
same.
other side of it is, like, I
platform or
work in
not.
a bank.
Mhm.
Well, there's not really money anymore. Money doesn't really exist.
It's all kind of like digital.
So nobody's going to
So-
know... Yeah, exactly. No, I don't carry cash, ever. So if tomorrow the internet broke, so do I.
Well, you can get to your money though because
How?
all the information's still there. It's just it's not networked. So
How is the
internet's just a
information
network.
still there? Which
Well, 'cause
Okay,
it would be on servers and things, wouldn't it? So, and
so,
you would have
so
backups
which
and other
computer...
backups.
And how does that server run?
Well, you would have like servers in data centers.
Every single computer in the bank
Yeah.
that I work in is connected to the internet, and that's how we get the information about people's accounts.
Yeah, but that information will
when
be
you go to the
stored
cash
somewhere.
machine, yeah, on the internet. When you go to
Yeah, but the internet isn't. When you say the internet, I'm thinking like it's actually the network that connects these machines. You're saying the actual machines themselves are also down.
No, okay, the network that connects the machines.
Yeah.
So these central servers that have all the information, how do I go to a cash machine, I put my card in, how does that cash machine connect to that
it won't.
server?
You won't be able to get it from a cash machine.
So I go to my bank, fine, I go to my bank and I go to the counter, and they look on the computer to see how much money I've got on my account.
They won't be able to get it from there because it's not on.
So which building do I go to?
No, that would be people at the bank would have to know would know where they have their stuff because they would have racks and servers. And
I
things.
am people in the bank.
So yeah, but you obviously don't know where it is.
No,
but
I
somebody in the bank would know where those servers are kept, where the data is. So any cloud-based
maybe
saves,
one person. Okay, so how
it
are
will
they
be in
gonna,
a data center somewhere.
How are they
going
to get that information out to the public?
There would have to be a big project, and a lot of the unemployed people who work in the internet would then be hired to go through to these data centers and get all the information.
So they
would
big
have to,
project will fix it.
They would have to.
So like David Cameron.
Well, the thing is, like you're saying there, so take banking information for example. All people's banking information will still be there somewhere, but it wouldn't be accessible from any location.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd have to get people to get that data and take it to various branches and things.
Yeah.
So, but then
Wow.
once you've done that, say somebody goes to this data center and burns all of your banking information and money other people's 2 disks and sends those disks out to different branches, they're not connected. So that only tells you what money you had at the point the internet broke.
Yeah.
But then you wouldn't be able to like take money out and for them to know at every location that you've taken money out. So really, you'd only be able to have the information at one local place at like your branch.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I would imagine
We'd go back to Victoria.
you would have to go to your branch and say, this is my branch, I want this to be the branch where my data is held, and then they would have to get your data from the data centre to that branch.
That's done by sort code, so everyone does have their own branch.
Okay, so they would basically say,
my
your
sort code
branch
is like Basingstoke, so that's miles away.
Yeah, so you would get the data to your branch, you would only be able to go to that one branch to get money out. You wouldn't be able to use hole in the wall, you wouldn't be able to use card.
Okay.
But once they've got the data to the branches, you would be able to then use that as one point, you would be networked anywhere else.
Fine, so I've got my money, we've worked that out, that problem's
Okay.
solved,
Okay.
obviously. Now, I have my money, I've taken
Yeah.
the cash out, I've gone to my branch, I've taken the cash, I've driven my car to a petrol station.
Mhm.
How much do they charge me for my petrol? How do they work out
Mhm.
how they balance the price of fuel? Or bread,
it's
or
not.
milk, or
Mhm.
how does a supermarket...
I suppose it would just be fixed. I don't know, maybe it depends what the response is, because some places might put the price of things up, because people might panic buy and things like that.
Yeah, but
you then have
after
things
that,
like people that can't then... People that are reliant on ordering food online and so on wouldn't have that option anymore.
No.
They'd have to go to a place to buy food.
So people that
maybe
can't do
like,
that will die.
Yeah, maybe like the prices of different things would go up.
Hmm.
But again, we had to, well, like you say, there's a lot of people that would be unemployed as a result of the internet being broken. So it would create new jobs, and I think all of the problems that arise from not having internet would create a job that someone would need to do manually. Yeah, generally, I don't think we.
So you think we would fix the fact
wouldn't-
that we've lost the internet with just having lots of people that haven't got anything else to do?
Pretty much, in layman's terms, I think.
Okay.
I don't think we'd fall into the dark ages or basically be on the verge of an apocalypse, but it would just be life today, but really, really, really inconvenient.
Yeah.
It would just be really, really inconvenient life today. So different
But
things
I
like
wouldn't know anything.
mobile phones would be a lot more valuable to have, because that's the only means of like communicating in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
And like TV, I think would kind of make a bit of a comeback. People don't really watch TV anymore. People tend to like stream stuff and watch catch-up TV.
But TV would get
catch up.
worse. Technology
think-
would be made worse. Because you can't update stuff.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to release patches and updates, would you?
No.
So yeah, I think it would.
Storage is a problem as well. So, like, there would be no archiving of anything without actually recording it onto tape.
Yeah, you could record things onto like hard disks and stuff. That would still be around.
Yes, but then that's not really transportable.
Well, disks are transportable.
Yes, okay, so discs.
Yeah, so discs.
But it'd have to be on a CD or a disc of some kind, because if it wasn't on a disc, if it was on a hard drive, and somebody wanted to take that episode to another station, because they would have to take things to actually move them out. So if you think that the number of things that are actually...
Do you know what I think as well? A lot of... loads more people will just watch the news on TV, because how many people now just get the news on a tablet or something, or on your phone, and just look at headlines? You wouldn't be able to do that. You'd have to keep up with the news to find out what solutions being implemented to make up for the fact that we don't have the internet anymore.
Because you never know, you might get the internet again and not know about it because you can't the news.
Yeah, so that would be... Yeah, I mean, we could probably stay on this topic for a really long time. There's probably loads of different things we've not thought of that would be caused by the internet being down. I think mainly...
medicine.
Yeah, I mean, mainly it's like we've said, things like banking would be a huge thing. And it's just the fact that there is information out there, but it's just getting to it. You can't get to it unless you actually physically go there.
Yeah, knowledge would...
Yeah, so... and I think we probably revert back to doing things we did before the internet was commonplace. I mean, there are a lot of countries where it's not normal for everyone to have the internet. I mean, over here, generally, most people will have the internet or a basic package. Because we you can get cheap broadband, or if you can afford it, you get things like fibre and like unlimited download and all those sort of things. So there's quite a range of things people can get from from between affordable and sort of the more deluxe packages and things. Whereas in some places, internet is more of a luxury than it is like a resource. So people will only have it if they can afford it.
I guess we could go back to fax as well.
Fax
would still work.
Be good. You could fax more things.
So, there we go. At least we know that if the internet breaks, we can fix it. Yeah. You and I.
Well, I think there'll probably be a think tank. Hopefully, we'll be invited having done this.
Well, you would, because you would be in a profession that would no longer exist.
Yeah, so I'd
so you would be one of the people that wouldn't have anything to do.
So I've got nothing to do. So
I'm glad you've got a backup plan.
Yeah. So I can't fix internet lines anymore because they were all broken and they're never being fixed. So we'll just...
the number of messages you'd get on your phone to tell you that you had outages.
There's lines down, and all of them are. What I reckon, what you might get as well is a lot of crime. Because think about what we were just saying, but what if data centres were broken into and people just took data and then they're like, right, we have these hard drives, how much would they actually be worth to people?
But then... the value of things. How do you level out the value of things? There's no idea about the stock market. There's no internet, and there's no. Yeah. So in answer to the question, things would be really bad for a while, and then we'd find a way.
I think we'd find a way. I think we would find ways to cope. It wouldn't be the end of the world, but it would be the world today, but really, really, really inconvenient, and there would be some particularly bad areas. It's like you mentioned, like people that need. If you can't leave your house and you have to get stuff delivered to you online because you have some sort of disability or something. That might be... I mean, I'm sure they could phone somebody, but it's not like you can go on the internet and find out what the phone number for something is. That's no longer an option. Would teletext work?
Yes,
teletext would be back in a big way.
Solved.
Let's all use teletext.
On that note, I think we should leave it there.
I think we're done here. So thanks for joining us again, and be sure to leave us some comments with new questions, topics, and what would you do if questions.
Follow us on Facebook or Twitter. Look for Triangleface.
We'll put some links in the description as well.
Below. No? That's the thing people say on the internet, isn't it?
It is. Okay. Which is a good thing that we still have, because it would suck if we didn't.
Yes.
So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye, internet.
Bye.